How you doing? This is Dennis Jenkins with Dynamic Dad, positive attitude, full of energy, and new ideas. And here's another episode with Dynamic Dad. It's just starting up the episodes right now. So this is season 3, episode 2 with Dynamic Dad, positive attitude, full of energy, new ideas. So today I have a young man come on. He has his name is RJ McBean. I believe his real name is Ronald McBean. So he's going to be my guest today. We're going to talk about fatherhood. We're going to talk about, his past experience, his present experience, and his future experiences of being a father and where he's going, in his life. And so once again, my guest today is RJ McBean. My brother, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm blessed. I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me on.
Hey man, it's an honor. It's an honor, man. I like to have fathers come on in. Like I said, just be truthful, honest, as transparent as you want to be, man. This is your floor. This is your time to express to the people how fatherhood, play the part in your life. Whether you had a father, that was dynamic, or you didn't have a father, but how it impacted you, man, and whatever traumas it might have cost you, but how you was able to overcome that, man, to be who you are today. So I just want you to talk about that, man. Once again, I know you said that you're 32 years old. You're, native of Arizona. I don't meet too many people that's a native of Arizona, so that's a big, I'm from the East Coast, and I often hear that. So we met in a group that's people from all over, from the Midwest and LA, in the West Side and the East and the South. But it's very, to meet somebody actually from a native of Arizona, man. That's big, you know what I'm saying? So just tell me a
Yeah,
little bit
thank
about
you.
that, man. Growing up in Arizona as a young man, what was that like for you? Did you have a dynamic dad in your life? Did you have a father, or was he absent? How did that look?
Yeah, so I mean, I think for me, I think one of the reasons why I was able to even have a successful childhood or even be the man that's here today is because I had a strong father. Um, as a child, I actually grew up in like the opposite of what is a normal household, right? In our community, what is the normal that we see, right? Which is a single mother household. I grew up in a single father household. Um, so through that, I kind of grew up in a different kind of like just, hey, you gotta be ready for the world, right? And the world is not a nice place. They're not gonna look at you the same, So you gotta build up this resilience to be able to take on the world, right? So as a young man, that was kind of instilled into me that like, if you want something in life, you gotta go out there and get it. It's not going to wait for anybody. It's something that you have to do yourself. So I attribute everything that I am today to my father. And also, going beyond that, there have been just positive role models in my life that, showed an interest, right? For anybody that wants to be a better person, right? You got to have those mentors in your life that say like, hey, let me show you game. Like I came from where you were or where you want to be. Here's how you get to the next level, and here's the messed ups that you're making. Here's where you're being triumphant at. And I think that's really what sets people apart.
Definitely, definitely, man. I mean, like you said, you did come up in a very rare situation. I mean, there are a lot of fathers out there who are raising their kids, and saying that's what Dynamic Dad is about. Giving them power, empowering them fathers, man, giving them praise for what they do, man. Let them know that they are appreciated. But for a lot of people, they say they came up in a two-family household or a single-family household. It's very, the numbers are very low of brothers taking care of their own kids. And so that's what Dynamic Dads wants to change that. If you're not involved in your son's or daughter's life, we want to empower you. We want to encourage you. We want to give you the resources you need to be involved. So big ups to your dad, man, for doing that, because that instilled a lot in you. We often get to decide where a mother is maybe too much wrapped the apron, got the apron tied on too tight, and she don't know when to take it off, and it becomes that baby boy syndrome, you know what I'm saying? So
Mm-hmm.
but in the father, that's another perspective where this young man should be getting that from the start, how to be a man. He's able to go into that
Exactly.
manhood. He's teaching him how to be a man, because I'm a man teaching you how to be a man versus a mother trying to get mentors, or herself trying to teach you how to be a man. That's very, those are the two dynamics that you often have to deal with. And often that's a tough thing to navigate through as a young man when you're turning 15 or 14, and now you start to understand who you are. You know what I'm saying? You start to understand
Exactly.
that things are changing for you. So as you talk about that, man, coming through, let's go to age. We do a little timeline here. What about that? When you get to where now, like I said, we're 13 and 14 years old, and you're becoming that man. Now you starting to be influenced by what's going on in the streets, was influenced by sports or school, and now you got to look up to your dad. You starting to get close to his height level. How does that work out?
Yeah, I mean, I think that happens at every age, around that age for young men, right? Where there's that rebel state that kind of starts to build up, and it's part of becoming an adult. I think I gave my father a fair share of hell from as a young man. He's probably got a couple gray hairs that have my name on it. So, um, you know, with anything, like it's an investment, right? Fatherhood is an investment. You're investing into your legacy. Um, so when you show that care, that passion, and that really what it is love, right? And tough love, which is needed. You know, that's where you take a young man who is in chaos, right? Because puberty is chaos. It's your whole body changing, and your mind's changing, your physical attributes are changing, and taking that chaos and giving it perspective, right? So it's like, you have all this dynamic energy, and it's like, well, what do I do with it, right? And that's why a lot of kids rebel. It's they don't understand this new power that's opening up to them, right? And with guidance from a father, that's kind of how you get that direction of like, okay, yes, you have this energy, but if you don't use it, you're just going to turn into a repetitive cycle, right? But if you focus on something and put all of your energy into something positive, you can be a better man. A lot of people have instilled that in me, right? The circumstances you come from are not going to determine where you end up in life. You can, every day is a new beginning where you can change where you're at. And really, watching people who have gone through that and built themselves up into something else kind of sets the roadblock for, this is what I need to do in my life to make sure that I achieve those levels.
Definitely, man. So as you go through that, man, how does that look for you now that you got your father there to give you that guidance, where you might be around some of your friends, or maybe a few, if I'm not even gonna put the numbers on, but around your friends who don't have that father, or who does have, or won't have let's put it in this perspective. One kid may have a father and a mother. Another kid don't have nobody, just his mother, or another kid don't have nobody. He's just out there, and that happens in the communities where that's a reality for some. You know what I'm saying? How did you fit into that when you got to deal with your friends and your peers going through those situations? You didn't have, you had your father, but you have your mother. But it was like the balance is split between who has what and who has nothing. How did you deal with that?
I think really the point that you touched on is it's a community, right? So where I lack is something that somebody else might have, right? When we do stuff together, and we have those conversations, right? So, there was a time when my father and I didn't get along. I lost my mother at a young age, right? And I think about my friend, his name's Greg Dahlgren. During a time when I lost my mom when I was a teenager. He was kind enough to share his family with me, right? So they took me on, and like, gave me that family structure that I needed. So I had like, hey, motherly love right there. I had, little sister. I have, best friend who's a brother, still to this day, right? So, when we don't have something, look around you for people who are willing to share what they have. We have to work together to get anything in life, right? I think somebody said it best. If you want to go it alone, don't expect to go far. If you want success, do it together or something like that. I'm not saying it right, but
right. Yeah, and that's why I asked you that, man. I mean, with me, I grew up without a father in my life. So I was a product of, single family. My mother was there, but I had a large family. And so at a certain point in time, I just lived on the West Coast, and I also lived on the East Coast. So when things would go, different directions in my mom's life or my life, I was either sent back to New Jersey to live with my grandfather, my grandmother, and my aunts and uncles, or I was shipped back to LA, living in South Central LA with my mom, just me and her. And I don't know, how much you've been to LA and you understand the dynamics of that, but the gang wars was tough back in the 70s and 80s. And as I was growing up, you see me with red on now, but I didn't wear red a lot in LA. You know what I'm saying? So that gang territory is real serious. And so you could stake a claim without even doing it, just by the way your colors and stuff like that. So I grew up in that area of the colors. And so I didn't have a lot of support in LA. none of the support in LA. But I have some friends, we hung around each other, but either they was in a single family household like I was, or whatever. But in Jersey, there was that family connection, with
Hmm.
all my aunts and uncles and stuff like that. And I would go back and I would have that. But as I got older, as you're talking about now in the teenage years, that's when my struggles came in because I didn't have that. I had it in New Jersey, but I didn't have it in LA. So I didn't have anybody, the father or a mentor there to guide me. And so it was often time I had to really watch what I said and did in different neighborhoods because I knew that these cats in the gangs, that was their support system. And I step out of line, I got to deal with them. Anyway, about the fathers, if I'm dating this young lady, oftentimes there was no man in that house. So I had to worry about dealing with him, but I also had to deal with the brothers or the cousins that's out in these
Yeah,
gangs. So I had to be careful of what I said and done because now that could come back on me later on. But the one
absolutely.
thing that you stepped on that you talked about was that community because with me, I have a best friend right now, like my brother named Eddie Dempsey. Now, when I went to met him, his mother and father kind of like adopted me into their family. You know what I'm saying? So I had two sisters, I had him, and then the mother and then the father. So I was able to blend in that family to a certain degree, but they became my other extended family. When I needed some advice, I had her to go to as a mother, and vice versa. I had his father to go to for some advice, and so that was very important. But we strayed away from that. I think that a lot of families are strayed away from that because of the age gaps. A lot of people having kids at a younger age, so there's not that grandmother and grandfather or that community, like you said, of going on. So how do you see that now, in your opinion, with this new age of kids coming up?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, I'm at the last. I feel like I'm at the last generation that was, pre social media, right? So when I was a kid, like we didn't have, you know, uh, Facebook and all this other stuff. MySpace was just on the verge of,
Right.
of becoming a thing, right? So what we did was we still went outside and still had those family interactions, right? So it was like still going out to somebody else's house. Um, and having that close knit relationship, right? Um, I think because so much of our interactions are no longer face to face, you don't have that you don't get to see like the little idiosyncrasies that you get with a human connection, right? You don't get to shake somebody's hand, you don't get to look somebody directly in the eye, and see them face to face, and it's like, hey, I'm here for you. You don't get that human connection. Um, and I think that's what misses when we start separating ourselves through technology and everything else. Like, you know, that's where we start to lose our community. If you look at in our community where we do have strong places of like family sense, it's usually in churches. It's usually in like after school programs, sports leagues and stuff like that, where you start to see that camaraderie come together in our community. But it's like, how do you maximize that to a greater populace?
Right. And as we lead into that, man, we talk about, I'll lead into this right now, man. As you said, you're a resident of Arizona, native of Arizona. And so I see you said you were 8 years. You married to your high school, your college sweetheart. And so you've been
Hmm.
together for some time now. And so as we navigate through that now, man, just we talk about the present time now. Here we are in the present time. Social media has taken over and we got this social distance going on. And here we are in a meeting, we're having a discussion on Zoom, on social media when we would normally have this face to face in a room and we're interviewing each other or whatever. But now we're forced to go to where now, even though we're close to each other and we can see each other and hear what's going on in the next room, or whatever, so we're still not in the same environment. We're in this bubble, so to say. And so, how are you navigating that? You also mentioned that you were wanting to start your own family. So I'm sure now you have a little more time to work on those things of that nature because we're in this bubble, so to say. But how does that affect you and your marriage and your future sense of going forward with a family, dealing with this what we're dealing now, this pandemic?
Yeah, I mean, I was talking to my wife about this the other day. You know, it for me, I feel like the pandemic was a good chance to slow down and really take account of like where I'm at, right? So, you know, this whole pandemic has given me a lot of time just to think about who I am as a person and really like say, what can I do to improve myself, right? I have a lot of time, extra time that I would usually spend like traveling to and work, traveling two locations and stuff like that for work. Um, so having this time to just like sit back and reflect, it's like, okay, well, am I the kind of person that I am? Am I the kind of husband that I want to be? And really like taking early on, take an examine of like where our relationship is at. For me, I got to quote a book, right? It's not, well, not quote, but suggest a book, but the 5 love languages really comes into play here. And it's like, if I'm going to be spending more and more time with my wife, am I really communicating in her love language? And is she communicating in mine? And it's like, how do I work out those kinks to make sure that we are cohesive, especially when we have to co-work together, we have to communicate together, we have to financially plan together, and really take into all these other accounts. And it's like we got to really like know who we are with each other, and like really lean on each other when it gets hard, because 2020 was hard for everyone.
Exactly. So with that being said, man, so what is your plans as far as going forward with the family? I mean, has that changed the perspective of what you want to do and how, or you want to start the family? Or is that just something they say, baby, with everything that's going on right now, the economy is just starting to get back up. So I'm sure your finances and your business is starting to take a different turn than how it was 6 months ago. So how are you looking at that for as a future?
For me, I think that starting a family is still, key priority. This is my legacy that I plan to leave behind. So, making sure that I'm in a spot where it's like, okay, cool. I'm confident enough to be like, yes, I can raise either a young man or a young lady in the way that I see fit, that is honoring of the legacy, and that's the kind of weight and power that I put behind having children.
Right.
And for me, I've done a lot in my life and took into account who I am to say like, okay, yes, I feel responsible enough to be a parent. I think more than anything, being a father is like, no matter what else you do in life, like fatherhood will still be like the number one thing that you do.
Definitely. So, and as we go into that, we talk about the father, man. And so what is your relationship with your father now? And how do you guys interact with each other? What is the big topic that he might, or advice he might give you as you're planning on going into being a father? And I'm asking you like 3 different questions in one, but I want
Yeah.
to just set the stage for do you really think you're ready to be that dynamic dad? Because last say you're 32 years old, you said. So a lot of people at this age, that's when it's got to happen now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So for me, I'm with, I could talk to my dad all the time. I probably annoy my dad with how much I call him. But, I still reach out to my dad for that wisdom, because I take into account that like the time that I have with my father is not going to be forever, right? So these moments that I have, like I got to cherish them while I have them. And I think I have a great relationship with my father now as an adult, right? And I think our relationship has deepened just through understanding of like me growing up, right? So we can have connections as a man to man, as to before it was more of like boy to man, where it's like a father passing down his knowledge. Now we can discuss knowledge together
Right.
on a like, so what would you do in this situation? And still he's giving me advice. Before I was actually here, I was talking to my dad. So I think having that relationship, and keeping it is strong, is really important, and it really it's going to affect everything. So in terms of how do I think that's going to prepare me for fatherhood, I know a lot of good dads out here, and I watch them, and I'm peeping game from what they're doing, right? And it's like, hey, what can you pass on to me so that I can make sure that when I am, a father, like I want to be, out there, like I want the time, I want to be giving those lessons and making sure that like, hey, you are going to be like the best kid that ever comes out of this, you know?
Right. Yeah, and that's great, man. What you're basically doing is laying that foundation, man. You're laying that foundation for yourself and for your child and for your family, and that's very important, man, because a lot of men don't do that. A lot of men, we talk about the traumatic experience that everybody goes through in life, and surely what we're going through in this time right now is traumatic for everybody, and it's got to make adjustments. And some people it's hard to do. Some people it may be able to flow right in through that adjustment. And some still like which way. Which way? You like, which way? You got to get ready. It's about to come out of this. It's like, which way? I'm still lost. Why are we still in this? You know what I'm saying? It's still confusion. So everybody handles things differently. But I see with you, man, being a photographer and being a videographer, you like to put things in focus and perspective as you move. So there's always a plan to what you're about to do before it happens because you're seeing a bigger picture. So tell me about that, man. Being a photographer, videographer, how you sit, as you go on in the future and coming out of this pandemic or coming out of into another phase of your life. What do you have in store for yourself?
Yeah, I mean, really, it's all about meticulous planning. Start with a big dream and work your way backwards. For me, with this videography and photography, really I want to get in the process of helping, people that want to start their own businesses, right? So, creating a digital ad agency is a totally different experience for me, but working your way backwards and really kind of building that foundational steps, that's kind of what my next goals are. But really, for me, it's more about being happy. It's finding what you're passionate about and lighting that fire until like you just can't do anything else but your passion, right? And then figure out how to make money off of it. There's a lot of people that have great ideas that just never see the light because they're too afraid to like take that one step, and you don't know what you're sitting on.
Exactly, man. So once again, with that, man, like you said, you're a guy who's looking into filming, you're traveling, you're filming. So I'm sure that's all business, how you build your business brand up too, as far as you're traveling and you do a lot of reading to keep up with the current times. And but one thing I see you says the cars and fitness. How does that tie in with what you got right now, man? And just tell us about that, and also tell us how they can find you on your different social media pages.
Yeah. So for fitness, that's one of my main foundations for starting my morning, right? Like you got to get your body, if you want your mind right, you got to get your body right. Like it's all connected. So meditation, running, eating right, whatever you got to do to just like get active and stay healthy, that's going to keep you full of life for when you want to do whatever you want to do. And in terms of where to find me, you can find me on Instagram. I'm most active. So it's go get RJ.
Okay, appreciate that, brother. And, I'm not gonna keep you much longer, man. I wanted to just let you come in and talk. If you got some more things or advice you want to give to fathers or upcoming fathers or this young man that's dealing with going through the phases of growing in life in a marriage. I mean, this is your opportunity to say that, man. Give you a few minutes of shine, man.
Yeah, I mean, I think really what I would give to anybody that has a dream and has anything, whether you want to be a good father, whether you want to get more money in life, whether you want to do whatever you want to do. When you start it, just make sure to keep going. That's the most important thing to do, is just stay the course. It's your dream. No one else is going to take it from you unless you let them.
What's your favorite place to travel to?
Oh man, Belize.
Belize? Have you been there?
Yeah.
You've been there often, or that's just something that's
too many times to count and not enough times to make me happy enough.
Okay. You got family there, or is that just a vacation spot?
No, my wife's actually from Belize, so she actually immigrated to the U.S. From Belize, and I've been going back every year. So
yeah, I got some connections down there, and I want to get down there soon to Belize. My mom went there a couple of times. I think I have some family friends from Belize, and I have some friends that's from New York that live there now, and I connected them through IG. And so I want to get down there soon. Want to get down. Here's a beautiful place. I definitely want to get down there.
Yeah, definitely. We'll have to meet up and we'll go down there together.
Yo, that sounds like a plan, man. I see a lot of things, man. We talk out off record about, man. We can definitely get connected with, man. But I do appreciate you for giving me your time today, man. Say hello to your wife for me, man, and congratulations on everything that you're doing in your life, man. And I definitely appreciate you spending your time with me today, man. Thank you a lot. Thanks a lot for that.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Hey, man, have a great night. I'll talk to you soon. Once again, Dominant Dad, positive attitude, full of energy, new ideas, man. Take that slogan wherever you go, man. I'm trying to put that slogan around the world, man. So positive and attitude, full of energy, new ideas, man. So when people say who's Dynamic Dad, you can recite that just like that for me.
Amen.
All right, brothers. You have a great day. Once again, thank you for coming on, RJ.
Thank you. Have a great one.
So once again, this is Dynamic Dad, positive energy, full of energy and new ideas. And that was my guest, RJ. Like I said, native of Arizona, Phoenix, Arizona. And so this season, we got a lot of great things coming up for you, a lot of great things. So once again, I want to thank everybody for listening. Thank you to those who are watching. And go to my website, check in with me, www.dynamicdad.org. Leave a comment, subscribe, to the page, register for the page. If you want to leave a monetary donation, I appreciate that as well, so that we can continue to grow Dynamic Dad around the world. Once again, thank you. Have a dynamic day. Enjoy everything that you do, and always be positive in attitude, full of energy, and new ideas.